people all around the world, they do not know what actually happens in that report or what is actually status of women in Islam. They will read these reports and they will form their opinion that Muslims are against equal rights for women. Wikipedia immediately produced an entry. The report identified religious legal frameworks as being behind gender inequality, included proposals such as equal and inheritance rights for women, banning polygamy, recognizing sex workers as laborers, and ensuring equal rights for men and women. You see, ensuring equal rights for men and women. So those people who organized that rally, they are against ensuring equal rights for men and women. So this is how we take the easy way, just shout in the street, because to write a report, to respond intellectually requires hard work, enormous hard work. And I am a writer, I know how difficult it is to produce a content. That is not what we do. We simply take to the street and believe that by showing strength, we will solve all problems. Now, this is the biggest question of all. Why does epistemic violence against Islam succeed? If you study the last few decades, or more than that, all episodes of epistemic violence against Islam have succeeded. Now, there is always some kind of battle going on between good and evil. So the battle will continue. You cannot imagine a world where there will not be any epistemic violence. There will not be any misrepresentation or distortion. These will continue. These were there in history. If you just go back to the time of the Prophet, how our Prophet was caricatured and misrepresented. Our Prophet was caricatured and misrepresented, but our Prophet never told anybody to shout in the street to counter those misrepresentations. What our Prophet did? Our Prophet said, Hassan ibn Yusuf, Hassan ibn Sabit, Uhuju ya Hassan. Oh Hassan, you satirize them. You counter poetry with poetry. And Hassan ibn Sabit did it so brilliantly. But we do not follow the sunnah of the Prophet. Now, our Prophet was so strategic. He told Zayd ibn Sabit, oh Zayd ibn Sabit, you learn Syriac and Hebrew. I want to know what is in their religion, what is in their books. Our Prophet told Salman Farsi to translate part of the Quran into the Persian language. This is how our Prophet countered epistemic violence. We cannot imagine a world where there will not be any epistemic violence. This will continue. But how we respond, how we address it, is the biggest question. Now, let us think of a different scenario. Let's compare two countries, Bangladesh and the US. Just imagine in a fragment of a second, if Bangladesh attacks the US, tomorrow who will regret? If Bangladesh attacks the United States of America today, which country will regret tomorrow?
Be sympathetic.
There are two countries are involved. Bangladesh today decides to attack the US. Tomorrow, which country will regret
Superficially, it's Bangladesh.
Why do you want to say superficially? Do you have any doubt about it?
No, no doubt. But behind the scenes, Bangladesh is being supported and backed by other certain governments.
Let us do not engage in any philosophical discussion. Just look at the scenario. Bangladesh decides to attack the US today. Tomorrow, which country will regret? Which country will regret the consequences? I thought that was an easy question, but it sounds a difficult question. If Bangladesh attacks the US, immediately the whole country will regret, because the response that Bangladesh will receive from the US will be overwhelming. The whole country will be incinerated. The whole country will be eliminated from the face of the earth. Now you get it? So why, after attacking Islam and Muslim, nobody regrets? Because we are weak. Now you think differently. If US attacks Bangladesh, US will never regret. So what I'm trying to say is that the reason why people succeed after committing epistemic violence against Muslims is because Muslims are weak. And this is not military weakness. This is intellectual weakness. We are not talking about battlefield here in this room. We are talking about epistemic violence, intellectual violence, violence through knowledge and information. So everybody who attacks Islam intellectually succeeds because Muslims are intellectually weak. And once we understand this, then we can move on. Otherwise, we will be stuck here forever. Is it now clear? So every epistemic perpetrators, all epistemic perpetrators against Islam succeed because Muslims are intellectually weak. If we were intellectually strong, after attacking few times, they would have stopped. They would say, oh, it doesn't work, because their response is so rigorous. Actually, when someone attacks us intellectually, they create an opportunity for us to explain our religion to the world. By creating a controversy, they actually create an opening for us to tell the world what Islam is and what Muslims stand for. But we do not exploit, or we do not make use the opportunity because we are intellectually weak. This is what Muhammad Iqbal says. Iqbal says, all that is achieved without personal effort comes under asking. Asking means begging. All that is achieved without personal effort comes under asking. The son of a rich man who inherits his father's wealth is an asker or beggar. So is everyone who thinks the thoughts of others. The son of a rich man who inherits his father's wealth is an asker or beggar. So is everyone who thinks the thoughts of others. We inherited a glorious Islamic scholarship, and we are complacent. We always make mention of our ancestors who did this and that. But what is our contribution? So according to Iqbal, we are beggars. We simply inherit what our ancestors left for us, but we do not have that intellectual rigor or resilience.
How son of a rich becomes big?
Sorry?
How the son of a rich man becomes big?
No, let's say, for example, my father was a millionaire, and I inherit all that he leaves, and I do nothing. So I'm a beggar because I simply get what my father's left, and I have no contribution to what I'm enjoying. So this is how Muhammad Iqbal says the son of a rich man is a beggar if he doesn't work hard. So in that way, Muslims, who always feel proud of our past, we are beggars because we do not contribute much. We simply feel proud of our ancestors. Now, I was talking to a professor of a very prominent university in Bangladesh, and at that time, Bangladesh was under a political government that was not very friendly to Islam or was not very serious about the interest of Bangladesh. That professor was telling me that my abilities are not being appreciated and used. My abilities are not being appreciated and used. What does it mean? It means that if I could hold a position in my country, I would contribute so much. And I was shocked hearing that statement. That shouldn't be the statement of a professor. That can be a statement of a politician. As I said earlier, an intellectual doesn't need power or chair, power or position. When you do not hold a position, you have more time to contribute intellectually. There shouldn't be a reason why you cannot contribute. That is totally opposite, totally contrary to the attitude of an intellectual. So professors, intellectuals do not need chairs. Even you do not need to be here. Someone from the audience can control this program by sharing some very interesting ideas, by influencing the discussion. So that's why Muhammad Iqbal blames the Muslim intellectuals, the Muslim scholars, the Muslim teachers. This is what he said. The so-called enlightened Muslim has no lamp to illumine the darkness of his heart. Then he said, this hungry man, this Muslim educated man, bartered away his soul for a piece of bread and caused us great grief thereby. Then he says, he, again, Muslim educated Muslim, he picks up grain from the ground like domestic birds and is unaware of the blue expanse of space. Then he said, the teacher, lacking intellectual equipment and insight, did not inform him of his real stature. So all these are about educated Muslims. Iqbal identifies the problem that it lies with educated Muslims. Educated Muslims are not doing their job. That is why during Iqbal's time, almost the whole Muslim world was under European colonial rule. And for the same reason, we are being massacred everywhere in the world. The problem lies with intellectuals. Now, we often try to portray ourselves as devout Muslims. But there is a difference between scholars and devout Muslims. Our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said the status of scholars is much higher than the status of devout Muslims, the worshippers. We cannot simply be complacent, being worshippers only, being devout Muslims. Our Prophet said, the superiority of an alim scholar over an abid, a devotee, is like the prominence of a full moon over the stars. When it is full moon, you see how bright the moon is compared to the stars. Our Prophet said a scholar is like the full moon. The stars are like the worshippers, the devotees. We often try to impress upon other people by being worshippers, by performing Hajj every other year, by going for Umrah whenever we have time and money. That makes you a devout Muslim. That is not bad. But do not claim to be a scholar by just performing those rituals. The duty of a scholar is much higher. The status is also much higher. But we always try to impress upon each other by being a devotee. Then our Prophet said, the superiority of an alim over an abid is like my superiority over the lesser amongst you in good deeds. Our Prophet said, the difference between a scholar and an ordinary devotee is like our Prophet and an ordinary companion. Okay? Now I think I have said enough. I want to jump to the conclusion. This is a hospital, right? You see the hospital? So I will discuss this analogy and then I will conclude. I think you are bored hearing all these things. So, huh? Now, let's say you want to take your children to a hospital because, not children, your kid, your child. You have one hospital that is next to your house. The hospital looks gorgeous. You see, like a 5-star hotel or 7-star hotel. Huh? So the hospital is magnificent. The building is magnificent. The nurses are very good. There is a prayer facility in the hospital, which is very good, comfortable. During every azan, they play Quran, and that is pleasing to the ears of the patient and the visitors. They clean the floor few times a day. What else? The aircon functions very well. And the hospital is surrounded by greeneries. The environment is very good. Everything is good about the hospital, but there is one problem only. The treatment that the doctors provide is not good. Will you take your child to that hospital?
This is the purpose of hospital.
We are at a university, and we are academics and students. We also have number one purpose. If the purpose of a hospital is to provide good treatment, the purpose of a university is to provide good teaching and learning. If the teaching and learning is absent, the magnificent building and the library facilities do not make a university good university. Individually, as a researcher, as a scholar, we also have number one responsibility. That is to counter epistemic violence against Islam. If we fail to do it, and we are good in all other ways, we are decent, we are polite, we say assalamu alaikum when we see someone in the masjid or in the corridor, and we are very generous, we always distribute food among the poor people. What else? Our aircon is very good, mahalla facilities are good, but we are not good scholars. That doesn't make us the competent scholars to face the epistemic violence against Islam. So again, my call to all of you, we need some committed, sincere scholars to counter the epistemic violence against Islam. And I have shown you how horrific and how far-reaching the consequences are if we do not counter the epistemic violence. So please let us try to understand that we are the scholars, not abed. Abed is not bad. Abed will go to Jannah. But we claim to be scholars. If we do not want to live as scholars, just quit. Leave this university, go somewhere else. Do a business or drive a bus. These are also good work, but do not claim to be a scholar when you are not ready to perform the responsibilities of a scholar. Every day when I come to university campus, I see our cleaners, they clean the classrooms, the corridors, they mop the corridors, and they do everything. This is their job. We also have our job. But we have been deceiving our cleaners by giving them an impression that we do some useful work, but whereas we don't do anything. So the cleaners prepare the classroom for us, and they hope that these brothers and sisters will represent us. They will counter epistemic violence against Islam. But we do not do that, even though we enjoy their services. Okay? So may Allah accept us as scholars. May Allah make it possible for us to act and behave like scholars. With this, I conclude. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
For the decision today, sir, I have some critics. I have been pointing out the issues. The first critic is regarding the story that you have mentioned about the lady in Germany regarding ladies in Afghanistan. Firstly, I think that's we are referring to a Western reference, which is I would say 99.9% wrong about the females in Afghanistan. If we look at the history of Afghanistan back in education, so we may understand as a scholar and as a visionary leader. But now, as a destruction of the education system by the West, and Western are playing as a reference that Afghans are against the women education or against the women, and we do respect our women too much. I think nobody would understand that. This first critics regarding that, which is against, it's contradictory against with the students that the Prof has mentioned. The lady who came with the hijab and asked for the reference. The two contradicts it, I think. The second is you talk about the Islamic country. I would say that colonization will never establish an Islamic country. There's also the second critics. We have to have Islamic land which leads by Muslims and ruled by Muslims by itself. And also the third, which is the issue among Muslims, we are following, as we know that the real knowledge was from the Islamic scholars back, but we didn't focus much on intellectuality. Now we are following universities which is not producing intellectual leadership, or they are not producing mind from that university. Can you mention a university which give graduation of scholars or researchers with Islamic intellectuality, not with westernized intellectuality? Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much for your contributions and questions. I fully agree with you that Afghanistan is wrongly misrepresented in the world. It's considered as a backward country where women are not given honor, which is wrong. I have huge respect for the people in Afghanistan and also people in other Muslim countries who honor their women and who have a strong family life, a strong family bond. So we have many good things about Muslim societies. So that is what you and I know. That is what you and I agree. But I'm talking about how other people perceive us. So the way other people perceive us is wrong, and it is our responsibility to engage and to tell the people what Afghanistan is and how women are being treated there. So you and I are on the same page, but I was talking about our responsibility. Now you, I think, hinted that we had a glorious past and our education system has been destroyed and we have been colonized and we have been weakened. All these are true. Let me tell you a story. I gave a similar lecture a couple of months ago in Dhaka, at Dhaka University. So I wanted to tell professors at that university that we agree that we are weak intellectually. Only then we can move on. Without making that confession, we cannot move on. We cannot move on the basis of complacency. Then one professor told me that we have been made weak. What it means that other people made us weak. We are actually strong. I said, fine. That means conspiracy theory, that other people have conspired and made us weak. I said, agree. Can we conspire and make them weak?
Victim game.
Okay, they made us weak. They colonized us. Can we try to do the same to them? So these are weak foundations. Let us not be in that illusion that people made us weak, they colonized us, they destroyed our countries, blah, blah, blah. This will not change our condition. We must be strong intellectually. And I do not worry about big universities or big countries, what governments can do. I worry about myself, individuals. The other day I think a few weeks ago, I gave a talk at Al-Tabari. One of my colleagues was complaining about rich Muslim countries. How come they don't give us funding so that we can do research? I said, I don't control any country. I cannot control a rich country like UAE and Qatar and blah, blah, blah. They do whatever they want to do, but let us focus what you and I can do. You and I can organize our life in such a way that we become more productive. We can keep blaming others and enjoy our life going here and there for holidays and gossip and waste our time and do not study hard, and at the end of the day we blame others. That may not help. Let us focus on individuals. I don't worry about governments. I don't worry about authorities. I worry about myself and my students and my friends. If we can focus on our study and be hardworking, that will make an impact. So let us not think about governments and universities and this and that. Unfortunately, I don't have any big universities in the Muslim country that I can say that can compete with Harvard or Oxford or Heidelberg. That has not happened. So that is also a sign of weakness. Even though Muslims started university education in Morocco, Fatima Al-Fihri, right? The Al-Qarawiyyin University, that was the earliest university in the world, and then Al-Azhar. But you look at today's scenario. So let us not be only proud of our past. Let us focus on today and tomorrow, not yesterday. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Yes. Start? Yeah, please.
Yes.
Can I add, or there's one?
We have one sister who wants to ask a question.
Jazakallah khair, Prof. It was a very shaky and a very shaking and a very mind-blowing talk, which makes us think a little deeper than what we're already doing right now. My name is Azhar Nazir. I'm from the Institute of Education, and I'm doing my PhD in educational leadership. I'd like to comment two things to add to what you already said and ask you one question, if it's okay, inshallah. Number one, when I was in grade 8, we studied about the Mughals. We studied about Aurangzeb, we studied about Tipu Sultan. And for those who studied in the Indian education system, they know how villainized they were, how categorically they were isolated from the development of the nation in the past and in the present at that point. I was very angry with Aurangzeb at that point. And I wanted to, I wanted to learn a little more about why he imprisoned his father, what did Tipu Sultan do that was so, disgraceful for Muslims. And subhanAllah, I was completely wrong. It was much later that one of my lecturers said that it was completely, in Arundhati Roy's words, ideological warfare. They're trying to make us small, little, and very negligent and very careless in the way that we worked. So, subhanAllah, that is one thing that when you're talking about how we talk about epistemic violence, this is an ideological warfare that Indians, we grew up, all throughout our lives and studied about it. Number two is, go to the question, inshallah. Okay, Prof, I work with scholars, I work with teachers, I do a lot of training for teachers, but you know the conditions and the situation of Muslims, especially in terms of education. There is not a way where I can progress further beyond what I'm already doing. I mean, considering the political scenario and the, and the landscape that is being portrayed against Muslims, how can I work further? I mean, I completely agree that I want to do more. I'm sure everybody in this room also want to contribute more, but we're always restricted in terms of regulations, statutories. What do we do in that case?
This morning, I received a message from my PhD student. I use plural there so that you do not know whether it's a man or woman. They told me that they had this problem and that problem there, so they couldn't submit their chapter. I said, I don't want to hear your problems. I want progress. You tell me what progress you made. All of us have our challenges. You have a set of challenges. I have a bigger set of challenges. One, during COVID time, a student of mine, again my research student, was staying in a mahalla, and he said, sir, I want to talk to you. I said, why? I said, I'm busy. I don't have time to talk to you. And he doesn't want me to talk on the phone. He wants to meet me. I said, no, I don't have time. You just finish your work and focus on your research. He said, no, I want to talk to you. Then we met, and he started telling me about his problems. And I found out that his problems are nothing compared to my problems. Then I said, are you done with your problems? He said, yes. Then I said, shall I tell you my problems? I said, my problems are much more bigger than your problems. So all of us have problems and challenges. And if you have one set of problems today, tomorrow you will have a different set of problems. Never imagine that in life there will not be any problems. We just try to make the best of it. So despite all, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask us about our life on earth, and He knows our challenges. So Allah will give us rewards on the basis of our efforts, not our outcome. In Surah Taha, Allah says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim, وَلِتُجْزَى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ بِمَا تَسْعَى. Allah will give us rewards on the basis of our effort, not on the basis of outcome. So given your circumstances, you decide how much you are working. Eventually, we will face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day of judgment. And Allah will ask us what we did on earth. So we have problems, and I said, I cannot solve your problem, you cannot solve my problem, and we do not run any government on earth. So that's why, given all challenges, we need to have a clear conscience whether we have done enough. I can tell you about my commitment to research and scholarship, and then you decide whether you are doing enough. My wife went to the US to do her postdoctoral in July 2022. From July 2022 until August 2023, I was with my 3 children, and my son was only 2 years old at that time. So my daughters, 10 and 12, and my son, only 2. Cooking for them, sending them to school, running my classes, editing Asiatic, doing all this research and this and that. Now, my profile is open. You just visit my profile and you see, was there any gap in my publication during that time? No gap. So if you have a 2-year-old son, not daughters, I didn't know before I have having a son that sons are so difficult to look after. If you have a 2-year-old son and you have 2 daughters, then you imagine how difficult your life is. But Alhamdulillah, that didn't stop me from doing research and publishing, teaching and supervising. Everything went as usual. If you have a strong commitment, you will find your own way. And I cannot advise how you will find your own way. Something will keep you awake. Something will keep you always restless. That restless is missing. Muhammad Iqbal wrote Asrar-e-Khudi. Asrar-e-Khudi means the secrets of the self. In the introduction of Asrar-e-Khudi, in the introduction to Asrar-e-Khudi, this is what Muhammad Iqbal said. He said that you need to be in a state of restlessness, not in relaxation. You need to be in a state of restlessness, not relaxation. The moment you are in relaxation, that is the moment of decline. So you need to be in a state of restlessness. Just think of the children in Gaza. Think of the people in Arakan, in Myanmar. Then you decide what you are doing for them. That will tell you how you can contribute. My motivation is not my job or my salary or promotion. My motivations are those children in Gaza. On the day of judgment, Allah will ask me, what have you done for them? And we all agree that giving them money and charity will not stop the oppression. You must do something else. You must address the source of oppression, not the symptoms. So please let us not worry too much about our problems. All of us have our problems. Let us see what we can do despite all our challenges. And once we have that commitment, inshallah, Allah will make it easy for us. And I can give you my way of doing things. And if it works with you, then follow. If it doesn't, then do not follow. I work in the morning. I do not stay up at night. I work in the morning, and I feel more barakah in the morning. And in my personal life, I try to be very close to the Quran. I begin my day with reading the Quran. And I feel blessed when I can do that. If I cannot read the Quran,